And hopefully by then we'll have another member join us so that we can then take consideration on our action items. So I will start though by reading our virtual statement. Due to the Safer at Home order issued by Governor Cooper, members of the Winston-Salem Urban Area Technical Coordinating Committee are participating virtually. All members will vote via roll call. Each member will be recognized, at which time the member will state his or her vote. I will now ask that Kirk, our TCC secretary, please take the roll.
Yes, before we do that, Tanique, there's someone who's showing up as call-in user 3. Could that person identify themselves? There's someone who's dialed in via telephone. Okay, it looks like that person has exited, so we'll go ahead with the roll call. Kelly Bennett?
Here.
Tanique?
Present.
Joe Geigley?
Sitting in for Suzette today.
Thank you. Daryl Vreeland?
Present.
Pat Ivy?
Here.
Kelly Garvin?
Here.
Lee Rollins?
Here.
Chris Jensen? Chris may have stepped away. Megan Garner?
Here.
Scott Snow?
Here.
And that concludes the roll call.
Was there anyone that was missed?
Yes, ma'am.
Scott Ryan is in attendance.
All right, it looks like, Scott, if you just joined us, we now have quorum.
Well, if I did anything good today, hopefully I did it good for you.
Kurt, this is Chris. I had issues with my audio.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know I'm here. If I didn't respond to anything, I couldn't hear until just now.
Gotcha. Yeah, we just missed you in roll call, but I've got you noted. Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
So it looks like, Tanique, we can go ahead and start in the agenda, the order as it was shown in the agenda.
Very good. Thank you, and thanks everyone for attending today. Kirk, did we have anyone signed in for public comments?
We do not.
All right. We will then move into our agenda for our action items. I will give you an advance notice that we've been requested to consider items number 6 and number 7 for for an action item today due to some timeliness of getting resolutions to other individuals. So at the time that we get to those items, I will ask Byron to go ahead and give the presentation, and then I will ask for consideration to move those up for action, and then we will take a vote on those items if we decide that we wanted to consider them for action. All right, so now I will move into item number 2, which is the consideration of the May 20th, 2021 TCC meeting minutes. The minutes are in your packet. I hope you've had an opportunity to review it. Would anyone like to make a motion considering that item?
So moved, Pat Ivy.
Thank you, Pat. Would anyone like to second that motion?
Second, Scott Ryan.
Thank you, Scott. It has been moved and seconded that we consider item our minutes. Kirk, can you call the roll, please?
Kelly Bennett.
Yes.
Tanique.
Yes.
Daryl.
Yes.
Pat voted yes. Kelly Garvin.
Yes.
Kirk votes yes. Lee Rollins.
Yes. Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Scott Snow.
Yes.
And Scott Ryan voted yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Very good, thank you. We will move into item number 3, which is consideration of fiscal year 2020 through 2029 MTIP amendments and modifications for the Winston-Salem urban area MPO. Byron, can you cover that item, please?
Good afternoon. The 2020-2029 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program is a listing of all the projects programmed for the Winston-Salem urban area. This document is a subset of the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and reflects the project's programming included in the state's Transportation Improvement Program. NCDOT regularly updates the STIP to include new projects and modify existing ones. This could be done for reasons such as funding, municipal requests, or scheduling changes. Statewide projects are projects which are located in our planning area. As their scheduling, funding, or programming is modified, these changes are reflected in our MTIP, including your materials of project modifications, additions, and deletions, including statewide 5311 program modifications, various statewide program and additions for training and development, delay on Haynes Mill Road to allow for additional planning and design, US 158 Salem Parkway modifications to accelerate funding for construction of the multi-use path. These amendments were made available for public review from May 10th, 2021 through June 9th, 2021 per our public participation policy. No comments were received during that time. I'll be happy to answer any questions on this item.
Very good, thank you, Byron. Are there any questions for Byron related to this item? All right, hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion for consideration of this item?
Lee Rollins, so moved.
Thank you, Lee. Would
Scott
anyone
Snow,
like to
second.
second? I didn't hear who that was. I heard someone.
Scott Snow, second.
Thank you, Scott. It has been properly moved and seconded. We would approve the MTIP amendment item. Kirk, can you call the roll for the vote, please?
Kelly Bennett,
Yes.
Tanique,
Yes.
Daryl, I'm sorry, Daryl, if you said anything, I couldn't hear you. We'll go ahead and move on to Pat Ivy,
Yes.
Kelly Garvin,
Yes.
Kirk votes yes, Lee Rollins voted yes, Chris Jensen,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Scott Snow voted yes, and Scott Ryan.
Yes.
Motion is unanimous. Thank you.
All right. We will now move on to item number 4, which is the consideration of an amendment to the fiscal year 2021-2022 Unified Planning Work Program for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. Kelly, can you cover this item, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. The item before you, as mentioned, is the consideration of an amendment to our fiscal year 22 UPWP. All MPOs that have been designated as transportation management areas with urbanized population of over 200,000 are required to develop an annual UPWP in coordination with FTA, Federal Transit Administration. Each year, our MPO, the Winston Urban Area MPO, is required to develop and approve its UPWP for transportation and transit planning. This document identifies what transportation and transit projects and work tasks will be completed during the fiscal year, and its estimated amount of federal and state highway and transit planning funds that will be used to complete those tasks. On March 18th, the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO adopted its FY 2021-2022 UPWP. At the time, the town of Kernersville is requesting that their Old Salem Road and Teague Lane intersection feasibility study be moved from the, I guess at this point, prior fiscal year, which was FY21, to the current fiscal year, which is FY22. This is due to some administrative delay, and which made it impossible to meet the current fiscal year, the FY21 fiscal year. The MPO staff made this amendment available for public participation for 30 days per our policy from May 10th to June 9th, and we did not receive any comments. This item is up for action at this meeting.
Very good. Kelly, does anyone have questions for Kelly? All right, would anyone like to make a motion, please?
This is Kirk. I'll move approval.
Thank you, Kirk. There's a second.
O'Brien, second.
Thank you, Scott. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Kirk, can you please call the roll for the vote?
Kelly Bennett,
Yes.
Tanique,
Yes.
Daryl, I think Daryl may have lost his connection. Pat Ivy,
Yes.
Kelly Garvin,
Yes.
Kirk voted yes. Lee?
Yeah.
Chris Jensen?
I'm thinking yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Scott Snow?
Yes.
And Scott Ryan voted yes. Motion is unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Kirk, we still had a quorum without Daryl. I just want to make sure.
Let me do a quick check here. Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we didn't have to revisit it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. We will go on to item number 5, which is the consideration of the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO Prioritization 6.0 Local Input Point Methodology. Kelly, if you
Thank
can
you,
take this
ma'am.
item, please.
Yes, the item before you, as mentioned, is the consideration of the MPO's P6.0 local input assignment methodology and schedule. The State Transportation Improvement Program identifies the construction, funding for, and scheduling of transportation projects for the state over a 10-year period. The North Carolina Department of Transportation proactively updates this STIP every 2 years to ensure that it accurately reflects the state's current financial situation. The Strategic Transportation Investment Law, it's the law that mandates the ongoing evaluation and improvement to ensure that the process continues to be responsive to North Carolina's diverse needs. This is accomplished through what's known as the strategic prioritization process. We're currently in the 6th iteration of the prioritization cycle, which is also known as P6.0, which began in the fall of 2019 when NCDOT and along with local planning organizations asked for public feedback on later submitted projects to be evaluated for the next step, which will be the 2024-2033 step. NCDOT will release the preliminary scores for projects it evaluated for that step. And the projects that were evaluated and that will receive scores include projects that were part of the last full year of the current step. That's the 2020-2029 step. Those are projects that are in the developmental stage. Also, projects that were submitted as part of the development of the 2020-2029 step, but were not funded, and as well as new projects that local planning organizations and NCDOT divisions submitted in the fall of 2019. Projects that do not score high enough to be funded at the statewide category can be considered and potentially funded at the regional category, as well as a project that do not score high enough in that category can be considered and potentially funded at the division level category. From September 2021 till November 30th of 2021, NCDOT's 14 divisions will, as well as MPOs, and will rank local priorities, which involve assigning what is called local input points. Each group has established clear methodologies in determining how to assign local input points as per required by law. Included in your package is the methodology. Nothing really has changed in the methodology except for terminology and dates for the schedule. The most significant change in our methodology is let me find it. It's a new policy that was developed by NCDOT's privatization office. As reviewed in our last meeting, this has to do with the flexing of local input points. With this new policy, the Winston-Salem urban area will have the option to apply this flexing policy, which means that the MPO will have the option to move up to 500 local input points and transfer them between one category and the next. If the MPO chooses to utilize that option at the time, MPO staff will have to notify spot office prior to assigning regional input point. So that is the most significant change in this document, and which was also presented at our last meeting. Here to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, this is also for action.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions for Kelly related to this item? All right, hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion?
I move approval.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Scott Ryan.
Scott, thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
Pat
I'll
Ivy.
second.
Who was that?
It was Chris and somebody else.
All right. Well, Chris, we'll go ahead and use you. Thank you. So it's been properly moved and seconded. Kirk, can you please call the roll for the vote?
Kelly Bennett,
Yes.
Tanique,
Yes.
Pat Ivy,
Yes.
Kelly Garvin,
Yes.
Kirk votes yes, Lee Rollins,
Yes.
Chris Jensen voted yes, Megan,
Yes.
Scott Snow,
Yes.
and Scott Ryan voted yes. Has anyone else joined us? If not, motion is unanimous.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we will move on to item number 6, which is the review and consideration of the amendment to the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan to include Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan performance measures. Byron, can you cover this item, please?
No problem. This item actually includes resolutions for 2 different things, 6A and 6B, but I'll cover both of them. Per the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA directives, all public transit agencies must establish safety performance measures or targets to be incorporated into their public transportation agency safety plans. Per further guidance, these measures also need to be incorporated into their respective MPOs, Metropolitan Transportation Plans, or MTPs. Generally, an agent sets its targets for each mode that represents its goals for the upcoming year, and these goals could maintain the current safety performance levels or aim to improve upon those current safety performance levels. These targets include fatality, injury, safety event, and system reliability on a per system basis. Like other performance measures we've adopted, the MBO can either adopt these agencies' performance targets or establish its own. These measures must be incorporated into the local MTPs within 180 days of the release or by July 30th, 2021. Due to the timing of the request, the MPO staff and NCDOT has prepared a course of action to satisfy FTA's requirements, which will require action by the board today. I want to discuss first item 6B and then 6A as they kind of work on one another. 6B, because of the time and the nature of the request, NCDOT provided guidance to the MPOs on how to best meet this requirement. NCDOT prepared a resolution, a template resolution to act as a placeholder until MPOs could adopt these targets into their MTPs. The resolution includes the targets for each of the agencies and a description of how these measures impact STIP programming. NCDOT's Board of Transportation will take action on this modification to the STIP on August 5th, 2021. Thus, for there to be no impact to FTA, STIP, or TIP approvals, NCDOT has requested MPOs adopt this resolution by July 30th, 2021. The resolution would be included in our 2045 MTP update until the MPO amends the MTP, which we'll be doing with item 6A. For 6A, again, to meet the requirements of having the performance measures added to the MPO's 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, staff has prepared a resolution to amend the 2045 MTP to include the safety performance measures or targets for Davidson County, Park, WISTA, as shown in your packets. We've also included each of the agency's safety plans for your references. Per the public participation plan, we advertised this for 30 days from June 16th through July 16th. No comments have been received thus far. Adopting these targets and amending the MTP would have satisfied the requirements of both FTA and NCDOT. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions about either of these items.
Are there any questions for Byron? Okay, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, before we can consider them for action, we do need to take a vote to move them up for action. So would anyone like to make that motion?
Yes, ma'am. Scott Ryan, I'd like to make that motion. For everybody else's reference, this is really dealing with deadlines from FTA standpoint. So the activities moving this up forward actually is in better protection for the MPO.
All right, is there a second?
Pat Ivy, second.
Very good, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We've moved this up for action. These items for action. Kirk, please call the roll for the vote.
Kelly Bennett,
Yes.
Tanique,
Yes.
Pat voted yes. Kelly Garvin,
Yes.
Kirk votes yes. Lee Rollins,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Scott Snow,
Yes.
and Scott Ryan voted yes. Motion is unanimous.
Very good. Byron, you presented them 6B and 6A. Do I need to ask for the vote in that order, or does it matter?
I think we can ask for it in alphabetical or chronological order, Tanique.
That's fine, to make it easier.
Thank you. All right, so would someone make a motion that we consider item 6A?
This is Kirk. I'll make a motion for 6A.
Very good. A second?
Kelly Garvin, second.
Very good. It's been moved and seconded. We will vote on the review and consideration of the amendment to the MTIP, or Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Kirk, will you call the roll for the vote, please?
Kelly Bennett,
Yes.
Tanique,
Yes.
Pat Ivy,
Yes.
Kelly Garvin voted yes. Kirk voted yes. Lee,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Scott Snow,
Yes.
Scott Ryan.
Yes.
Motion on 6A is unanimous.
Thank you, everyone. Now, if we could get a motion for item 6B, which is approving and adopting the public transportation safety plan performance measures.
I'd like to make that motion. Scott Ryan.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
Pat Ivy.
Thank you, Pat. It has been moved and seconded that we would approve item 6B. Kirk, can you call the roll for the vote, please?
Kelly Bennett, Kelly, if you said anything, I couldn't hear it.
Yes.
Thank you. Tanique,
Yes.
Pat voted yes. Kelly Garvin?
Yes.
Kirk votes yes. Lee?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Scott Snow?
Yes.
And Scott Ryan voted yes. Motion is unanimous.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. So we will now move on to item number 7, which is the review of the fiscal year 2020 through 2029 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program amendments and modifications for the Winston-Salem urban area MPO. Byron will cover this item, and then we will do the same as we considered for item 6, please. Byron?
Again, the 2020-2029 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program is a listing of all the projects programmed for the Winston-Salem urban area. This document, again, is a subset of the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and reflects projects programmed included in the state's Transportation Improvement Program. NCDOT regularly updates the STIP to include new projects and modify existing ones. This could be done for reasons such as funding, municipal requests, or schedule changes. Statewide projects or projects which are located in our planning area, as their schedules, funding, and program is modified, these changes are reflected in our MTIP. NCDOT and FTA has requested the MPO expedite amendments included in this item due to the need to meet the Board of Transportation STIP and TIP approval dates. Included in your packet are modifications and additions, deletions including statewide transit program modifications, various statewide program additions for 5307 funding, CMAQ funding modifications for engineering, right-of-way, and construction. There are no local MPO project amendments included in this packet. This item was made available for public review for 30 days per our public participation policy from June 11th through July 12th, 2021. No comments were received during that time. We are requesting that this item be moved up for action to meet the deadlines of NCDOT and FTA. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, very good. Any questions for Byron? Would anyone like to make a motion that we consider this item for action, please?
Lee Rollins, so moved.
Thank you, Lee. Is there a second?
This is Kirk, so moved.
Thank you, Kurt. It's been moved and seconded that we would consider this item for action. Kurt, please call the roll for the vote.
Kelly Bennett.
Yes.
Tanique.
Yes.
Pat Ivy.
Yes.
Kelly Garvin. Looked like I saw your lips
Yes.
move, but you're on mute. Thank you. Kirk voted yes. Lee voted yes. Chris?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Scott Snow?
Yes.
Scott Ryan?
Yes.
All right, this has unanimously been moved to action.
Very good. So now I will ask that someone please make a motion for consideration of our MTIP amendment and modifications.
Scott Snow, motion for approval.
Very good. Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
Pat Ivy?
Thank you, Pat. It has been moved and seconded. Kirk, can you please call the roll for the vote?
Kelly Bennett?
Yes.
Tanique?
Yes.
Pat voted yes. Kelly Garvin?
Yes.
Kirk votes yes. Lee?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Scott Snow voted yes. And Scott Ryan?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. All right, the other two items are information items. So the first will be a review of an amendment to add the Long Branch Trail to the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan for the Winston-Salem urban area MPO. Byron, can you cover this item, please?
No problem. The 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or MTP, is a long-range multimodal physically constrained planning document that identifies the needs, funding, and direction of our transportation network over the next 25 years. This document is complemented by a comprehensive transportation plan, or the CTP, which is not required to be physically constrained, but does include transportation projects identified as important to our community. MTP just MTP just says MTIP is amended as needed when projects are added or existing projects are modified. Changes such as a movement of a project across horizon years, funding changes, or project scope modifications all impact the MTP and its MTIP counterpart. The Long Branch Trail Extension, locally WSRWY 046, is included as a project in our CTP, and staff would like to include this project in the MTP now that funding for the project has been determined. This would include this project as a project in the 2025 horizon year, and as required by the Winston-Salem Urban Area Public Participation Policy, amendments to the MTP were made available for 30 days from July, will be made available for 30 days from July 21st through August 23rd, 2021. I'll be happy to answer any questions about this item.
All right, are there any questions for Byron related to this item? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item number 9, which is the consideration of an amendment to fiscal year 2021 through 2022 Unified Planning Work Program for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. Kelly?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. As mentioned, the item before you is a review of an amendment to the UPWP, similar to what took place earlier during this meeting. As I mentioned, all MPOs that have been designated as transportation management areas with urbanized population of over 200,000 are required to develop the UPWP in coordination with Federal Transit Administration. Each year, the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO does develop its MPO as required for transportation and transit planning. The UPWP identifies what transportation and transit projects and work tasks will be completed during the fiscal year, and the estimated amount of federal and state highway transit planning funds that will be utilized to complete the work, plus the required local matches. On March 18th, the MPO adopted the 2021-2022 UPWP. However, as the fiscal year of 2021 came to an end, there arose a need to move the City of Winston-Salem's study from fiscal year 2021 to 2022. Due to some administrative delays. This item, along with the Village of Clemens, who is also requesting a reduction in scope in their bicycle and pedestrian study, which they now wish to only do a pedestrian study. The cost, however, has been estimated at $50,000, which remains the same as what it was before. And the local match will be the responsibility of the village, which is $10,000. The MPO's public participation policy requires that any amendment be made available for 30 days for public comments. So we will bring this item back again for action at our next meeting. I'm available for any questions that you have.
All right, are there any questions for Kelly? All right. Hearing none, we will now move into our staff reports. So we will start off with our first staff report, NCDOT Division 9 update. Pat?
Thank you, Tanika. Good to listen to everybody today. My report is in the packet, and really for the most part is self-explanatory. Projects are moving along well, particularly with the Beltway, section D, E, and F, still on schedule to be completed next fall. We are also on schedule to let the AB section of I-74, U-2579AB, in December of this year, and the AA section will be October of the following year. So really those are pretty much the highlights there. If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to address those. I did want to mention that DOT is continuing with its effort to update all of the project estimates that are in the 10-year STIP for the purpose of, as we look at the next version of the TIP. And we have, for the most part, we've still got a few of those estimates coming in, but as expected, the magnitude of those cost estimate increases is significant. And so we will be working, of course, in DOT and working with our MPO and RPO partners such as yourselves on how we need to address that in terms of project schedules and things like that. We'll definitely be looking for you all to help us with that effort. So more to come later this fall on that. Any questions at all for me?
None right now for me. Does anyone have any questions for Pat? No? Okay. Thank you, Pat. We will move on to the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO Transportation Project Update. Kelly?
Nothing really beyond what's in the package. You TCC members will be receiving from now on a call from one of our staff members to update your projects, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, and that if you need something from me, then I know how to help you, or if I need to intervene anywhere. But as far as what's in the package, it's as up to date.
All right. Any questions for Kelly? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to NCDOT Transportation Planning Update. Daryl, were you able to get sound? No? All right. We will move on to the next. Let's see, Piedmont Triad Regional Council of Governments Update. Carter is not on this call, is he? No. All right. Let's see, Forsyth County OEAP Air Quality Update. Carrie? No, Carrie's not on the call either. All right, Bicycle and Pedestrian Facilities Projects Update. Matthew?
Thank you, Tanika. I don't have anything to report at this time, but can answer any questions if there are any.
Very good. Any questions for Matthew? All right, Winston-Salem Transit Authority update. Donna? Is Donna on this call?
She's not, Tanique.
Okay, no Donna. All right, Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation update. Scott?
Yes, ma'am. Couple quick updates I wanted to just throw out for folks. We are rebuilding our transportation demand management program. We've been working with all of our staff at the MPO level, as well as some of our transit agencies. Wanted to mention that because now we're in our new fiscal year, and so we will be working with the MPO on some of those immediate action items that we had included in our upcoming work plan. So we will share that with the MPO. Some of these things that I'm speaking of is really a lot more correlation between our websites and outreach efforts on van pooling and carpooling. This is a very big program, or a program that was very much impacted by COVID and starting to rebuild, but it's certainly going to take us a great deal of time to get back to the 56 van pool groups that we had prior to COVID. So that's just more of a heads up. We do have work related with our Piedmont Triad regional model that's moving forward. And so the household survey activities, the scope of work and RFP that is actually going to be administered through the city of Greensboro has been completed. It has been reviewed. We essentially are waiting for updated financial agreements to be put in place from NCDOT and the city of Greensboro for that to be released. But that is a very big project with regards to a household survey as it relates to our travel demand model. But movement is on the positive steps moving forward. Last item I'll share that's outside of what's already included in the information package is we have some upcoming solicitations with our member agencies in our region, one of which includes updating our vehicle advertisements. That includes Winston-Salem. So we're finalizing an RFP that will be going through reviews before it's released. We also have one that's another consortium bid with all of our transit agencies in our region for updating automatic vehicle location, as well as some other technology aspects to really make mobility a better enhancement with regard to our customers. So those projects are in the queue, and they're going to be coming up closer to being released and getting some activity. But we'll follow up and give the MPO some further updates as we draw near the end of some of those activities. Madam Chairman, I'll be more than happy to answer questions or go into any other detail if you want.
Very good. Thank you, Scott. Is there any questions for Scott? Are there any questions for Scott? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the Davidson County Transportation. Richard?
Nothing to add to the report that's in the packet, but I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Richard. Any questions for Richard? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Title VI compliance update. Marlene?
Good afternoon, everyone. And Tanee, thank you, Tanee. No updates, but I can answer questions.
All right. Any questions for Marlene? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the MPO calendar of activities. Byron?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Any questions for Byron? Hearing none, let's see. Our ethics liaison, Kurt?
Everyone's elected officials are compliant with the state ethics requirements for this calendar year, so nothing to report until January. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for Kurt? Hearing none. Did I miss anyone? No? All right. Well, our next meeting is scheduled for September 16th. So we hope to see you all there. I think our next meeting will actually be face-to-face, everyone. So look to hear from us on our location and receiving your packet of information. So until then, everyone stay safe, or until we speak with you again, and our meeting is adjourned.
Good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.